Tonight, we're remembering R&B legends who came out of Los Angeles. Artists whose sound was shaped by Southern California long before the city became known for pop and Hollywood glamour. And the last name on tonight's list, well, that one still surprises people. Let's begin with number 10. Number 10, You're So Fine by the Falcons.
You're so fine.
Before Detroit claimed much of the spotlight for soul music, a young singer with a deep, commanding voice was growing up in Los Angeles. That voice belonged to Wilson Pickett, and one of his earliest appearances came on this energetic R&B record. You're So Fine arrived in the late 1950s when rhythm and blues was still blending gospel emotion with the early pulse of rock and roll.
I talk about you.
Radios across the country were beginning to lean into the sound, and records like this felt raw, immediate, and alive. The recording itself carries that feeling. The vocals aren't polished in a modern sense. They're charged with urgency, the kind that only comes from singers who learn to project their voice across a crowded room rather than a studio microphone. Pickett's delivery is especially striking. Even this early, you can hear that edge in his voice.
You're so fine.
The slight rasp that would later define some of the most powerful soul performances of the 1960s. For listeners at the time, songs like this weren't studied. They were felt. They played at neighborhood dances, from jukeboxes in small diners and through car speakers on warm weekend nights. And when that voice came through the radio, it carried something unmistakable. Not just energy, promise. Number 9, Love Train by the OJs. By the early 1970s, rhythm and blues had grown into something broader, something that could carry both joy, chemistry, and purpose at the same time. And few songs captured that spirit quite like this one. The OJs may forever be associated with Philadelphia soul, but one of the group's founding members, Walter Williams, was raised right in Los Angeles. Before the national spotlight arrived, the musical instincts behind that voice were shaped in Southern California neighborhoods where gospel, doo-wop, and R&B blended naturally on every street corner. When this record arrived in 1972, the world was carrying its share of tension. Yet, the song didn't approach the moment with anger. Instead, it opened the door to something warmer, a sense that music could still gather people together, even if only for 3 minutes at a time. The arrangement moves forward like its title suggests. A steady rhythm, smooth horns, and voices that feel inviting rather than overpowering. You could hear it playing from radios in living rooms, corner stores, and car dashboards all across the country.
Sorry for you.
One small detail that stands out is the way the group delivers the verses. Calm, confident, almost conversational. It feels less like a performance and more like an invitation. For many listeners, the record arrived during years when life felt complicated. Jobs changed, cities grew, families moved farther apart. But when this song came on, it carried a simple message that still felt possible. Sometimes music reminds us that, for a few moments at least, everyone's riding the same train. Number 8, Groove Me by King Floyd.
Hey there, sugar dumplings, let me tell you something.
Sometimes a hit record doesn't arrive with grand expectations. Sometimes it starts almost by accident. In the early 1970s, this laid-back groove began circulating quietly through R&B radio stations. The singer behind it, King Floyd, had roots that reached into Los Angeles before his music traveled through the southern recording scene that eventually brought the song national attention. What makes this record stand out is its relaxed confidence. Nothing about the performance feels rushed. The rhythm settles into a pocket that's deep and steady, the kind of beat that invites people to lean back rather than jump up. Floyd's voice carries a conversational warmth. He doesn't push the melody. He slides into it, almost like he's speaking directly to someone sitting across the room. One memorable detail from the session is how the band kept the arrangement deliberately simple. No overcrowded instrumentation, just enough groove to let the vocal breathe. For listeners at the time,
No other man, no other girl.
the song often arrived late at night, on quiet radio hours, in dim lounges, or through speakers during slow dances when the room had already thinned out. It wasn't flashy. It didn't shout for attention. It simply created a mood and stayed there. And sometimes those are the songs that linger the longest, because they remind us that not every memory arrives with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives with a steady groove and a warm voice in the dark. Number 7, If You Don't Know Me By Now, by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes.
I'll never let you go. No way, no way, no way.
Some songs don't arrive with excitement. They arrive with honesty. By the early 1970s, soul music had grown deeper, more reflective. The sound coming through the speakers often carried the weight of adult relationships, the kind that had already weathered a few storms. This record is a perfect example. The voice at the center belongs to Teddy Pendergrass, who spent part of his youth in Los Angeles before becoming one of the most recognizable voices in soul music.
Been through. You should understand.
And when he sings here, there's no rush in the delivery. Every line lands like a conversation that's been building for years. The arrangement stays gentle. Soft piano, patient rhythm, and background vocals that feel almost like witnesses to the moment rather than participants. One detail that always stands out is how Pendergrass holds certain phrases just a little longer than expected. That slight pause adds something human to the performance, like someone choosing their words carefully during a difficult talk. For listeners,
Oh, just get yourself together.
the song often found its way into quieter spaces. Late evenings, living rooms after arguments had cooled, long drives where the radio filled the silence between two people thinking about what comes next. Because the truth inside the lyric is simple. If someone has shared enough time with you, they should know your heart by now. And hearing that truth sung out loud could feel both comforting and a little painful at the same time. Number 6, Be Thankful for What You Got, by William Devon.
The white walls, TV and
If the previous song carried emotional weight, the next one carries something different. Calm. Be Thankful for What You Got drifted onto radios in 1912 like a warm evening breeze. The groove is smooth, the tempo unhurried, and the message refreshingly simple. William Devon grew up in Los Angeles, surrounded by a musical culture that blended gospel sincerity with street-level storytelling. And you can hear that influence throughout this record.
white walls, TV and television.
The production is beautifully restrained, off guitar lines, relaxed percussion, and a bass groove that moves like a slow walk through a quiet neighborhood. But the voice is what makes the song memorable. Devon sings with a gentle steadiness, never pushing, never demanding attention. It feels less like a performance and more like a reminder. One interesting detail about the recording is how lightly the band plays behind him. The musicians leave space between the notes, allowing the message to sit comfortably in the air. For many listeners, this record became a kind of personal philosophy. It played through apartment windows, backyard gatherings, and Sunday afternoons when the week ahead still felt far away. And in a world that was constantly telling people to chase more, the song offered something surprisingly rare. A quiet voice saying, sometimes what you already have is enough. Number 5, Going in Circles, by the Friends of Distinction.
As the world goes
Some records feel like they belong to a particular moment of life. The years when everything feels uncertain and the future hasn't quite settled into place yet. Going in Circles carries that feeling beautifully. The group behind it, the Friends of Distinction, formed right in Los Angeles in the late 1960s. Their sound blended soul, pop harmony, and a smooth West Coast polish that reflected the musical culture of the city at the time. When the song arrived in 1969, radio listeners immediately noticed something different about it. The arrangement feels airy and spacious. Strings glide through the background, while the rhythm section moves gently underneath. But the real heart of the record lies in the vocal performance. There's a softness to the delivery, almost like someone speaking their thoughts out loud for the first time. One detail that musicians often point to is the phrasing. The singer stretches certain lines just enough to make the melody feel slightly suspended, as if the emotion itself isn't quite ready to resolve. For listeners, the song often became tied to a very specific kind of memory: young adulthood. The years when you're trying to understand love, identity, and direction all at once. Sometimes you move forward, sometimes you stand still, and sometimes it feels like you're simply walking in circles until something finally makes sense. Before we continue, a quick thought. If you're still listening, chances are these songs mean something personal to you too. If you'd like to hear more stories like this from the soul and R&B era, you might consider subscribing. It helps keep these memories traveling a little further. Now, let's keep going. Number 4, You're All I Need to Get By Marvin Gaye and Isamu Terrell. Los Angeles has produced many remarkable voices, and Tammy Terrell was one of its most radiant. Long before her duets became legendary, she grew up in the musical atmosphere of Southern California, surrounded by church singing and the early sounds of soul music that were beginning to define the decade. When this duet with Marvin Gaye arrived in 1968, it carried an emotional brightness that immediately set it apart. The arrangement is joyful, but never overwhelming. Strings sweep gently through the background, while the rhythm section keeps everything moving forward with confidence. What makes the record unforgettable, though, is the chemistry between the two voices. Gaye sings with his usual warmth and elegance, but Terrell brings something else, an openness that makes every line feel sincere. One small moment during the chorus often catches listeners. The way their voices meet and rise together feels almost effortless, like two people finishing each other's thoughts. For many couples at the time, the song became more than just another hit record. It became a promise, the kind two people quietly make when they realize they're stronger standing together than they ever were apart. And even decades later, hearing those voices blend still feels like a reminder. Some partnerships in music and in life simply fit. Number 3, Don't Ask My Neighbors by The Emotions.
Don't ask my neighbor.
By the late 1970s, soul music had softened into something smoother, records that felt almost like quiet conversations rather than big declarations. And few songs captured that feeling better than this one. The Emotions were sisters who grew up surrounded by gospel music before their harmonies eventually reached national audiences. Their journey passed through Los Angeles studios, where producers helped shape the warm, polished sound that became their signature.
You don't know me very well.
When this record arrived in 1970, it stood out for its restraint. The rhythm moves gently, the keyboards float in the background, and the entire arrangement feels intentionally calm. But the magic lives in the voices. The sisters sing with an intimacy that almost feels private, as though the listener has been invited into a conversation not meant for the entire room. Each harmony line settles softly into place, never overpowering the others. One detail many fans remember is the patience in the pacing.
Come on, don't be afraid.
The song never rushes its emotion. Every phrase lingers just long enough for the meaning to settle in. For listeners, the message often connected to the quieter side of relationships, the part where love doesn't need explanation to outsiders. Not every story needs witnesses. Sometimes the strongest bonds are the ones that exist quietly between two people, far away from gossip, speculation, or outside opinion. And when this song played late at night on the radio, it felt like a gentle reminder of that truth. Some feelings are simply too personal to share with the neighbors. Number 2, Special Lady by Ray, Goodman and Brown.
It would be you to change my grace.
Every era has its songs of devotion, the ones that feel less like performance and more like gratitude. Special Lady arrived in 1980 at a time when soul music was blending into the early sounds of modern R&B. The production became smoother, the arrangements more polished, but the emotional center of the music remained the same. The group behind the record had deep roots in Los Angeles. Their harmonies were shaped by years of performing together. Learning how to move their voices around one another until everything felt balanced and natural. What stands out most about this song is the warmth in the lead vocal. There's no dramatic push, no dramatic heartbreak, just a sincere expression of appreciation. One memorable detail from the recording is how gently the background vocals support the lead. They don't compete for attention. Instead, they surround the melody like a soft frame around a photograph. For many listeners, the song arrived during a stage of life when relationships had matured. The excitement of early romance had settled into something steadier. Commitment, partnership, shared years. It's the kind of record people played not just when falling in love, but when they realized they had built a life together. And hearing it today still carries that quiet sense of appreciation. Because sometimes the most powerful words in music aren't complicated. Sometimes they're simply about recognizing someone who stayed. Number 1, Oh Honey by Delegation. Songs don't demand attention. They simply arrive and stay. Oh Honey began drifting across radios in the late 1970s, and for many listeners, it felt immediately familiar, even if they couldn't quite place why. The group behind the record had ties that brought their sound through Los Angeles studios and musicians, where the warm West Coast approach to soul helped shape the final recording. From the very first notes, the song settles into a gentle atmosphere. The rhythm is unhurried, the keyboard soft and glowing, and the bass line moves like a slow evening drive down a quiet boulevard. But the real anchor of the record is the vocal delivery. There's a tenderness in the lead voice that feels almost fragile. Instead of pushing the emotion outward, the singer keeps it close, as though the words are meant for only one person listening. One small detail listeners often remember is the opening phrase, how it arrives softly. Without dramatic build. It feels less like the start of a performance and more like someone continuing a thought they have been carrying for years. For many people, the song became tied to moments of reflection. Late night drives, empty living rooms after a long day. The quiet hours when memories seem to speak a little louder. And that's the kind of record that rarely fades away. Because the songs we remember longest are usually the ones that understood our quieter moments. Music has a way of holding time for us. These Los Angeles voices came from neighborhoods, churches, and small recording rooms scattered across Southern California. Yet their songs traveled far beyond the city limits. finding their way into homes, cars, and memories all across the country. For many of us, hearing these records again isn't just about the music. It's about remembering where we were, who we were with, and the parts of life that seemed to move a little slower back then. If tonight's songs brought back a few memories for you, you're always welcome here when the music starts playing again. Subscribing simply helps keep the stories going. And if you'd like to open another door into that era, there's another video waiting on your screen right now. One that looks back at 10 banned R&B songs of the 70s you've never heard. Until then, keep the music close. Some songs never really leave us.